Greetings and welcome to a special orchestratemplates.com video about something that VE Pro 7 brought to the table, the VM1 iPad app from Montreal Music Labs. This app promises to be your one-stop solution for controlling all VE Pro servers across your whole network. Can it do that? How good of a job does it do at it? Should you buy it? All that and more after the usual disclaimer. I am not affiliated with VSL or Montreal Music Labs in any way, and this video is not influenced nor screened by them in any way either. I bought my copy of VM1, and this video is not sponsored by anyone. VM1 is a standalone iPad app by Montreal Music Labs that acts as an overview and controller of all Vienna Ensemble Pro instances on your local network. The app itself is a free download from the App Store, but to use it you must purchase a license for the VM1 Helper companion software, which needs to run on one machine in your network. It does not need to run on all machines. Any one machine will be enough. After the Helper app is started and activated, VM1 will show all available machines with VE Pro servers in the network. If we had to sum up VM1 in one sentence, it would be manage all VE Pro servers across all machines on the network from one central location, your iPad. Let's look at my regular scoring setup, which is my smaller template with a master and one slave. If you've had a template built by me, you'll find the layout immediately familiar, but it does not really matter as VM1 will just show whatever is hosted inside your servers. VM1 will connect to the available Helper app automatically, which is shown in the top right. If no servers are active on the network, you'll be told so. Otherwise, the available machines will show up. Tapping the hamburger menu in the top left lets you get back to the current screen, which shows all servers, or show the instances of one particular server, or jump to the content of any instance directly. Icons for each instance show whether it is connected, preserved, and enabled. Let's go into my master. Tapping on it shows all instances in that VE Pro server, with their associated colors as little dots. At the bottom there's a bunch of buttons. The plus button adds something. What it adds depends on the screen in which you are. Could be an instance, a new plugin, and so on. We will look at that in a minute. The wrench icon enables edit mode, where you can tap on an item and then edit or delete it. The sliders button will overlay mixer sliders on the current items, and the stacks button shows or hides stacks, a feature unique to VM1. To the right, the lock button causes the respective VE Pro instance on your PC or Mac to now follow along with your selection in VM1. Usually whatever is selected in VM1 also gets selected in the actual VE Pro instance. This is actually quite useful as it allows you to edit instance A, but look at instance B for example. Tapping the Montreal Music Labs icon resets VM1, useful when it gets stuck, which it sadly gets a lot in my use so far. When we tap the plus button, VM1 lets us create new VE Pro instances on this machine. We can set the name, color, whether it's enabled, and the audio engine started by default, and also the quantity. Using the edit button on any of the instances lets you do the same actions, plus connecting it and deleting all content within. You can do these actions to multiple instances at the same time, which is quite nice for people that have tons of instances. Going into one of the instances, we get a list of all channels, with a little icon showing the kind of channel. Tapping on any of these gets into a detail view, of this contact instance for example. We can add instruments and effects, adjust the level and panorama. Swiping left gets us back to the channel list. To do basic volume adjustments, tapping the sliders buttons shows these controls directly in the channel list, and also lets us set inputs and outputs, which is curiously not possible from the detail view. But all of that can be done when tapping the wrench icon. In the channel list you can also do it to multiple channels at the same time, which is quite useful again. Disabled channels are shown grayed out in all the views. Let's get to the stacks feature. This is pretty much the polar opposite of how I use VE Pro, so we'll look at it in a dedicated project. Essentially what it allows you to do is treat multiple plugins on the same port and MIDI channel visually as one sound in VM1. Instead of showing you, for example, 4 different contact instances with strings in them, VM1 shows them as one single instrument, because it knows they belong together. What happens in the background is that VM1 is disabling or unloading things you do not want to play, so this is a physical change on an instance level. That means that the status settings of the stacks have to be saved inside the instance, meaning that if they differ between projects, you need one server project for every sequencer project. Otherwise you run the risk of the wrong stacks loading when you reload your sequencer project. This is counter to how I think VE Pro works best, namely to host a never-changing template that always stays loaded identically, with all changes to its content made by sending MIDI CCs or automation, which we call between sessions. This is why I personally would not use that feature, though I understand why people might find it useful for sketching and experimentation. And of course there is tons of people that actually are using a dedicated server project per sequencer project. While I really like the concept of VM1, I have 2 main issues with it in its current form. VM1 does not really offer anything that would be impossible or even hard to do without it. Most of its functionality is an alternative way of doing specific things that you would generally do by looking at your VE Pro server instances directly. Most people access these via remote desktop or similar software, and thus do not have to physically move between systems anyway. I also happen to intensely dislike typing on a touchscreen, so all the naming I would rather do inside VE Pro directly. Touchscreen lovers may find VM1 more to their liking, but to be completely honest, when I use it, I constantly think, okay, now I had to reach for my iPad to do stuff, which I could have done by alt-tabbing into my slaves. VM1 is a version 1 in multiple senses of the word. It comes across as a great starting point to what may become truly awesome, but at this point feels still a bit superfluous, as it competes with years of trained muscle memory doing these things directly in VE Pro. I have also found it to be gratingly slow, even on my iPad Air 2, which you have seen footage of in most of this video. My main studio iPad is an iPad 2, yes, I know, that does a great job with everything from Metacritic to Bbot, yet grinds to a halt with VM1. Any tab takes 3 to 10 seconds to register. It obviously is my fault for using such an old device, but still performance is much worse than I would expect for such a seemingly easy app. It also crashes constantly. Sorry for putting it so bluntly, but I get crashes and disconnects every minute or so. Granted, that might again be the fault of the old iPad, but it also happened a fair bit on the iPad Air 2, which I realize isn't that current either. I guess you should look at what VM1 does, and if it is something you need to do all the time, go for it. Montreal Music Labs will surely develop it further, and I fully expect it to become a great companion to VE Pro. Who knows, maybe in a few years we'll build and manage our instances fully via VM1, and the actual VE Pro runs headless without any UI. It would save resources, and I am all for that. Meanwhile, maybe I am simply the wrong target audience for VM1. I use a single giant template that changes only once a year. I essentially set it up and then never touch it until revision time comes. So it stands to reason that the guy who never looks at his VE Pro instances on the actual machines also would scratch his head when you give him an app to do the same thing he never does anyway. I rarely switch instances on or off. I never change the routing after the first setup, and I never adjust levels or do any other mixing stuff in VE Pro. If you do, VM1 is for you. If not, it is a great tech demo of things hopefully to come. I hope you found this overview of VM1 useful. Let me know your feedback in the comments. If you liked this video, please subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon so you'll be notified of new videos. Take care and see you soon.